Welcome back for another top-notch video. This week, guys, we'll be talking about the week of January 20th to January 24th. We are currently beating all TSP funds. We are ahead of the market on this channel, doing very well. If you guys are interested, this channel is all about following the TSP funds and Roth IRA brokerage account funds for retirement and just regular brokerage accounts. So we go over the CSI and F fund for the TSP, and we go over the ETFs, IVV, VXF, EFA, and AGG for those in Roth IRA or just brokerage accounts. These follow the S&P 500 and are equal about the same. Small caps and about the same. International markets and bonds. Like I mentioned again, we are ahead of all markets for this week, doing very well in our funds. We'll go over all of those. We kind of do a just a general overview of the week. I'll show my allocation where we're sitting at, and then kind of end it from there, guys. If you have questions, go ahead and write those in the comments below. Please subscribe. We'll get right into it. So for this week, guys, on the TSP, we'd like to look at TSP Talk. This is a website that kind of comes up with all the TSP prices. As you can see, we did have a down week for the week. We were down 1% for the C and S fund, or IVV and VXF. The I fund was even down, and the F fund actually ended up being up for a little bit. As far as our allocation goes, we were actually doing very well. As you can see here, I'll pull it up for you guys. Currently sitting at 3.2%, 3.23% for the week so far for the year. I'm sorry, for the year. So far for the year, we are at 3.23%, and we're beating that F fund, the C fund, the S fund, and the I fund. So we are ahead of all markets, doing very, very well. Even got a shout out from the TSP Talk channel, as we are sitting in the top 10 for the entire site. We are number 9 so we're doing very, very well there. That's kind of a shout out. This is the first time I've ever been on there. Got a lucky pull this week as we moved from one fund to another, but always fun to be on top. Sort of like a top-notch channel, but yeah, I've never been a part of that, so it's kind of cool to see that on the TSP Talk channel. Go ahead and check them out. They do a great job for TSP. So that being said, the returns for the week, as you can see, the F fund did gain over all the other funds. We had all the other funds were down over 1% on a chart-wise basis. I'll kind of go over what happened with each of these charts. The first thing we want to look at is IYY, which is, you ask, what was YYY? And that's a general market fund. We like to see what everyone in the market is doing, kind of get an idea of what's going on, and then we go from there. So for IYY, as you can see, way out above here, moving above our trend lines and above our moving averages. Saw some down there on Friday. Hopefully we'll come back and just tag this maybe and continue the rally upwards. On a long-term basis for IYY, on a weekly basis, you can see our derivative oscillator is starting to lose speed here. Did have a little bit of a fake out, but it didn't last. Usually fake outs last 1 to 3 bars, and this one didn't last long at all. It only lasted 1 bar, and then we were down for the week. On a midterm basis for IYY, you can see we're starting to drop. We did have that fake out there with the derivative oscillators. Now we're starting to drop. The PPO line is starting to move close to the moving average, and when we see that happen, we see price tend to drop. We are also seeing a kangaroo tail on the top and bottom here. That means price indecision. Market doesn't know what to do, and we like to look at our indicators for where it could possibly go next. So being cautious, being in stock funds right now and equities, just as we look at IYY on a midterm basis and on a short-term basis. As you can see, that PPO line already did cross, and we are down in negative territory with our derivative oscillator. So that's where we are for IYY. Moving on to our funds, IVV, or the C fund, looks a lot like VXF, or I'm sorry, like IYY. We are way above our moving averages, and we are above our trend lines. Look like we are just want to tag this maybe here and continue the rally. If we're looking at it from a short-term and long-term basis for IVV, we can see that the charts for the weekly are starting to do the same thing. We're starting to lose a little momentum here on the derivative oscillator. Our PPO line is still way above that moving average, but just want to be cautious when we see this, as it tends to fall when we see an oscillator start to fall here on the backside. Price tends to move downward. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here, but that's the indicators we got. We did make a move this week. We went from the CNS fund to the F fund. If you want to see those moves, follow our Facebook page or our Twitter account. That's a long-term basis. On a midterm basis for IVV or the C fund, that PPO line, or the price percentage oscillator line, is just about touching the moving average. We're seeing price react, and we're seeing this react as well, the derivative oscillator. So, and we have some indecision here of what people want to do. So another sign here that things are getting closer. So then finally, on a short-term basis, we got some negative action here for IVV. Oscillators are negative here, and price is starting to move back down. We are within our Bollinger Bands, but pretty big day on Friday to see that move. Did see it move up quite a bit from where it ended at. It didn't end so low, but just keep that in mind moving forward. I think some of the news headlines that are affecting that is that sickness that's going around the world right now. That's something that's kind of got markets a little bit jittery. Moving on to VXF, or the S fund. S fund is a little, the small caps is a little more sensitive to markets. As you can see, we did hit a trend line here moving, a moving average going up. That's our 20-day moving average. Did hit that and bounced right off of that. We'll have to see if that rally will continue. Based off our charts on a long-term basis, what do we see? We see that the markets are moving down just a little bit here for our derivative oscillator, and the price percentage oscillator is still way above. Price still looks good here, but just keep that in mind. We are off that high now, and if we look towards our short-term charts or our midterm charts, we see that the line's about to cross. We are seeing some indecision on the midterm, and then on the short-term basis, we see that we are in the negative. So keep that in mind. Don't know when that will come back just yet. It could be just a week, but we did see some indecision Thursday and the day before, so we decided to just step out of the markets just for a little bit to see if we can get ahead of them, and it ended up being a very good move for us for a short-term basis. We'll probably only do it for about a week or so. I'd like to see maybe, I would say about a 2% drop in markets before we'd like to get back in. So we got about a 1% here. Another percent we would like to get back in. Hopefully, we are on moves on the TSP, so we can't get in right away, but that hopefully around the first or the second we get back into those equity funds and get a 2% increase on markets. Yet to be determined. Moving forward for EFA, or international markets, the I fund. As you can see, this trend line's been in place for quite some time, all the way since June, July, and markets have touched it a few times here, and they've been between this moving average, the 20-day moving average, and that trend line, and we did violate that a little bit here. We did that back in December, and it bounced right back, so we'll have to wait and see what happens on a technical basis for EFA. Long-term charts, weekly, we see that the oscillator is moving down. It's been moving down for quite some time. Not working for the oscillator here. As you can see, as price, usually when this moves down, oscillator moves down, the price will move down with it, and that has not been the case here, so that's very interesting. Now that our price percentage oscillator is starting to get a lot closer, maybe we'll see that start to happen. On a midterm chart, as you can see, we are in the negative for the price percentage oscillator and for our derivative oscillator. And then finally on a 4-hour chart, as you can see, we are in the negative on both. So we're going to wait for this to kind of turn around before we'd want to get back in it. So far we are sticking away from these because IYY, General Market Fund, shows that it's starting to fall just a little bit. So we're staying away from those equity funds. Finally, AGG, this is what we transferred to midweek. As you can see, we had that bullish flag we've been talking about for quite some time, above the moving averages, above the trend line, hoping for a breakout, and it kind of did here, guys. For January, it did very, very well, moving up. We'll have to wait and see how far that trend decides to go for AGG on a long-term basis. Weekly fund, we are about to cross on our PPO, or price percentage oscillator, and our derivative oscillator was positive for the first week. Very good place to have funds right now. That's why we decided to make a move. Very good. As you can see, as we were moving out of this, not a lot of price movement here, but now that we're a lot closer, we're hoping to see a little more action. We moved in December and didn't really see a whole lot of results from that. Lost out a little bit of towards the end of the year, and then we moved back to equities in January. The most important part is if you make a wrong decision, try to make it right as quick as possible. So that's what we tried to do, and got back into equities, did very well. As you can see, we're sitting in the top 10 for TSP Talk. That's pretty cool. I want to show that again. I've never done that before, so I like that. That's kind of neat. As far as a midterm basis goes for AGG, 2-day chart, things are doing very well here. We are on top moving forward. Looks very, very good. A little bit out of the Bollinger Bands here for price, but other than that, sitting pretty well. And then on a short-term basis, that 4 hours still continuing up. We did have a negative here, so that's good. Hoping to continue this trend for another week or so until we can get back into equities. So that is all of our funds as far as the equities go for the CSI and F, or IG or IVV, VXF, EFA, and AGG. Where are we allocated on the Top Notch channel? Currently, our allocations sit in the F fund 100%. We are there. New monies is going into that F fund. Sticking out of equities for just about a week. Like I said, you want to get about a 2% drop on markets before you start heading back in, trying to just catch that dip and whatnot. So that's what we're trying to do this year. We are ahead of all funds for the year. We are beating the market as of the 24th of January. Doing very, very well. If you guys have questions, comments, go ahead and write them in the comments below. Really appreciate you guys listening to the channel. Please like, subscribe, or share. That's another Top Notch video. We'll see you guys next time.